Welcome to Go Home Heat, a wrestling podcast. This is a sports entertainment podcast. This is a special edition. This was Clash of Champions. Clash of Champions went through some strange, drastic changes due to injuries and whatnot. So the card got moved around.
Maybe suspected COVID.
We made that up.
We just made that up.
But whatever, we can make it up if we want to.
We can pretty much make up anything. Like
Nikki supposedly wasn't cleared.
The internet has a very bad track record with not looking anything up and just kind of taking what people say is fact.
Either way, the two matches had to be changed. One wound up getting dropped.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're going to get into what all happened tonight.
Exactly.
Starts out with Cesaro Shinsuke versus Kalisto and Lindsay Eldorado with Grand Metalik on the outside. Cena gives a lead-in speech here in a minute. This is the pre-show. We get a good little match. I really thought it was good. The story wound up being that the cohesion of the champions wound up being the win. They were able to isolate Kalisto and Lindsay Eldorado multiple times, eventually throwing Lindsay Eldorado into the Thunderdome Beyond area over the barricade, and then Cesaro picks up and spins Kalisto while Shinsuke puts the knee in his ribs, and 1, 2, 3. Not a whole lot to talk about there, so we're going to move right along. It was fine. It was actually pretty good. It was it just they told a story, which I think kind of the theme of the night was storytelling over, and not that the wrestling was bad, but I do think that was the theme of the night. Now we'll go on because we got AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy versus Sami Zayn in what probably is Ray. Your match of the night.
Probably.
Okay.
I'd say this one. It wasn't. Granted, it wasn't perfect. I don't really think there wasn't a single match here that didn't have at least one very big flaw, but this one, it was smart. It was.
Okay, I thought it was really well done.
It knew what it was, and it knew exactly how to live up to those expectations, and I think it did pretty well.
Right, within 5 minutes, Sammy's back was covered in welts from being thrown onto the things. Pretty soon thereafter, AJ was similar. Pretty soon thereafter, we wound up with all the good ladder spots, including a patented Jeff Hardy top of the ladder onto a person laying prone on another ladder. Swanton. With the rotation, it really looked like he didn't even slow down. I don't know how he does that and gets up. It's crazy because he hit the ground like a ton of bricks. But then he winds up with more fighting, and Sammy eventually gets the better of everyone and breaks out a pair of handcuffs. And handcuffs, if you remember the Randy Orton screwdriver through the ear spot in the I Quit or whatever that match was he had. Sammy goes one up. He handcuffs his...
I will, however, say that I think the Randy Orton thing was a lot more visceral. I think it was a lot better done when Randy did it, but I do think this little spot was...
Well, if you had handcuffed Jeff to a ladder, he could have...
I think it was
still been involved in the match
smart.
better, right?
It was smart.
So he handcuffs these huge holes in his earlobes to a ladder.
This match was smart. It knew what it was. It knew what...
Then he's trying to handcuff AJ, and AJ begins to fight back, and so to prevent AJ from going to the top of the ladder without him, he handcuffs himself to AJ, and then as they're climbing the ladder together and Jeff struggles holding the ladder in one arm while it's chained to his ear, he struggles to grab AJ, and during that time period, Sammy handcuffs AJ to the support beam of the ladder and then climbs up the other side and wins the belts. And like you said, it was clever. Something you've never seen in a ladder match. They gave you everything you're used to. Ladders upside people's heads, ladders on their backs, swanton from the top of the ladder, all those spots, and then they give you a little something you haven't used to. And the evil Sami Zayn is now your champion, and he can go into separate. Jeff can chase as the babyface, and AJ can stay involved too. I enjoy this program going forward, and I think this was a good lifting off point. What do you think?
I have pretty much the same feelings about it. Again, it did have multiple flaws, but it's to me the best match on this card by a pretty large margin. I'll give it a.
When Sammy goes backstage and that girl decides she's going, and what's her name?
I don't know. Charlie?
No, it was the other one. Shoot, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. But
yeah,
when Kayla, is it Kayla? She is interviewing him and says, you've won the championship, and he stops her and says, no, I didn't win the championship, I retained the championship. I am and still. It was so well done. Okay, Zelina versus Asuka in what was a very good match, probably the best wrestling. No, I won't say that, but it was a very good match. Zelina versus Asuka, they have a good match. Joe's on commentary with Tom Phillips and Byron. Joe's so good on commentary. Zelina wrestles, winds up, she's so small and coordinated and able to do things that most people can't do because of her size, like the kind of Tajiri style moves here and there. Now, Asuka winds up getting her in as my good friend Justin pointed out through a text message, the same finish that Zack Sabre Jr. got in the G1 this weekend, which was kind of cool. I don't think she stole it, but whatever. It worked. And I liked this match. And then at the end, Asuka puts her hands together and she's going to shake Zelina's hand because she says Zelina, who has gone away from being a manager now, they made that official tonight, and she's going to be a singles competitor. And Asuka gave her props. Asuka held out her hand to shake. Zelina bowed, which was the setup move for the heel, because when Asuka bowed back, Zelina went after her, and then as soon as Asuka kind of got her wits about her, she ran away, and Asuka screamed and hollered furious. So we will get more of this, which is fine. We need to get Zelina over as a legitimate competitor in this division, and we need to do it quick because she's good and we can put her in there with different people. Apollo with Ricochet versus Lashley. Again, this was a really good match. Apollo is just such a physical freak.
Yeah.
He picks up a guy as big as, Lashley's the freak.
He's crazy.
But he can't do standing moonsaults and standing shooting star presses after Apollo literally picks up a man twice his size, throws him, and when he lands, does a standing shooting star press on top of him. That's otherworldly. That is so crazy. Now, Lashley winds up eventually flipping the script and gets him in a choke slam, which turns into a hurt lock or a full Lashley or a full Nelson.
Full Nelson.
If you didn't know what it's called. But yeah, and then you get the tap out there, and I like this match a lot, and we were off and rolling. Again, Street Profits come out with Andrade and Garza, another good match. This was cool because we have watched Andrade and Garza not like each other, not get along, and not really perform all that well because their matches kept getting cut short by shenanigans between each other. And here we got to see them be cohesive. They no longer have a manager. It seems like they have taken the right lessons here. Everything is going great. I turned to Ray and I said, besides one or two of those Buddy Murphy, Seth Rollins tag matches with the Street Profits, this is the best match they've had on the main roster. They had some great ones in NXT, but this was one of the best matches they've had on the main roster. And as soon as I said that, Dawkins gets the hot tag, goes for the pin, 1, 2. Andrade kicks out 3, and they call the match. And it's baffling because the match was going great, and he kicked out clearly before the finish. Now, they can clean that up tomorrow night. We may wind up getting this again. The announcers jumped right into a whole, oh my God, he kicked out. It was clearly a mistake on the referee's part. Flip side, when they cut away, you could see Andrade and you could see doctors or referees calling for doctors to come talk to Garza. So Garza may have been injured outside of the ring and they may have had to wrap it up, which would be similar to what happened a couple of weeks ago on a Monday night. But I will say I was pretty disappointed. But if the kid's hurt, he's hurt. And I'd rather them do that than... Because referees have a mic, as you know, as a wrestling fan, referees have a mic in their ear. If somebody told him, look, we don't know what's going on with Garza. He looks injured. We need to wrap this up. We can't do the finish. And he did 1, 2, 3 real quick right there. I get it. Still, it was going so good. What'd you think?
That finish was abysmal. I mean, the match was pretty good, but the finish was abysmal.
Now
it was so, his shoulder wasn't even down in the first place. Like, right?
I didn't think it was down in the first place.
His shoulder wasn't down in the first place.
So this should have
I
never
would
been
have had
count
a
to
problem
begin
with this if he didn't obviously kick out at 2. There are some close calls that there have been some like 2.9 kickouts that I was like, okay, that might be a 3. You might be able to say that that's a 3. That is a 2. That was it's just
I get it.
It was bad.
It's frustrating. But, hopefully everybody's okay. Now, a little undercurrent during it and probably some of the better 24s.
Out of 5, I'll probably rank that like a 2.
What if it had been a legit finish?
Legit finish, probably 2.5.
Wow.
I mean, no. Hold on. I'd give this a 2.5. A legit finish, I'd give this a 3.
Okay. Undercurrent of the early part of this was the 24/7 title, in which R-Truth pre-show is dressed up something like a gray-headed farmer. I don't know exactly what he had going on there, with a mixing bowl that had his championship in it.
Yeah.
He's walking around with little Jimmy. He winds up stumbling into the restroom. He realizes at this point his title is in jeopardy because this title is defended at all times, anywhere. He backs into Gulak, who's doing his lunges in the back, and just happens to win a title out of nowhere. A little while later,
I think this is like the only funny 24/7 championship thing they've done since like quarantine started.
Although they've tried.
They've tried.
Right.
And they failed.
Right. Okay, and then we had Gulak do a little interview.
Many participant trophies.
Right. Gulak did a few interviews, did an interview later with Kayla. Kayla is her name. If I got it wrong earlier, I apologize. And he says that he wants to dedicate this victory to Akira Tozawa, who was eaten by a shark last Monday night on Raw, which we're going to hope that didn't really happen. And R-Truth sneaks up and gets his title back. So R-Truth is now the 500th champion of the 24/7 title. Bailey Bay comes out and lets us know, this was one of the things we were talking about, that Nikki is not cleared to wrestle by doctors. Therefore, she wins. Referee come count it out. And Asuka's music hit, and she's pulling double duty. I'm all excited. I'm fired up. We get some match. As soon as Bailey's in jeopardy, she grabs a chair, hits Asuka with it.
Shenanigans.
DQ. And then Sasha comes out of nowhere, still with her neck brace, attacks. Bailey flips the switch. The match is completely over. Asuka's left. It's now Sasha and Bailey, and we're moving into that program quickly. Bailey fights back until Sasha grabs a kendo stick and runs her off. What did you think, Ray?
I didn't like this match. It's kind of like 1/4 of a match and then a chair shot. And then it's like, I just could have at least gave us like a third of a match. Like, it was barely even close. And I did not believe for a second. This was very predictable. I did not believe for a second that this match was going to last, 5 minutes, roughly?
Right.
Did it even last 5 minutes?
Do you think that if Nikki had been able to wrestle, the entire match would have been different? Like, would they have wrestled a full match and then done the DQ, or would they have let Bayley win clean?
I'm guessing they probably wouldn't have changed the match structure because they have somebody else. And I'm guessing this is what they if this is what they planned for the Nikki match, I'm baffled, because this seems like such an impromptu thing that I just, there was so much wrong that went on here. And it was kind of like, okay, it was kind of like, it did feel impromptu. It did feel very impromptu. I'm sorry that I keep saying that word, but it just, this match exudes not being ready. And they
Nikki pulling out 3 hours before.
Yeah, God,
not pulling out, but not being able to do it.
Yeah.
The news leaked about 3 to 4 hours beforehand.
Which means they probably had a little more time, but there's nowhere near enough time to construct a full new match. And if this was what the Nikki match was supposed to be, again, I don't buy it.
Okay.
I think this is a completely not ready thing.
Okay, we were going to be getting to Bayley Sasha anyway at some point.
Yeah.
So we got there.
I just feel like this way was kind of not the best way.
Orton versus Drew McIntyre in an ambulance match is next, and we wind up, starts out kind of normal. They're punching each other real good. You know this is going to get physical. The first big spot, Big Show comes out of nowhere, hiding. Nobody knew he was there.
No.
All 7'4", 578 pounds.
He had a mask on. He was disguised.
Right. Okay, he grabs Orton, puts Orton through a table, and we don't know what's going on, but we know Orton's at a disadvantage. Drew, they fight their way. Orton, Big Show leaves. Orton, Drew fight their way to the ambulance. Ambulance comes out, and we think, okay, we know it's not over, but they're leading us to believe that this is a big moment in the thing. It doesn't work out right there. Orton stumbles around to where the door is. He's going to close Drew's head in the door, but instead, Drew flips the script, goes for the Claymore. Orton moves. Drew claymores the door right off the ambulance. Then they proceed to fight backstage. They fight over to where catering is. At this point, Christian jumps Orton, beats him up pretty good, and we now know that we have achieved the Ghost of Christmas Past status. Everyone that Orton has wronged in this run to Drew McIntyre is now going to be involved, we can assume. Christian beats him up, he leaves. Drew's got the advantage again. Drew fights Orton back towards the ambulance. Orton winds up dropping, not RKOing, but dropping Drew through the windshield of the ambulance. Then they pulls him up to the top of the ambulance and kind of sort of throws him off, but he just rolls him off to where he's holding and knocks him off onto the floor. Okay, Orton's got him on the ropes. Now he's going to win. Lo and behold, super kick, crotch chop, suck it. HBK has hurt Randy with the super kick and then gives him the 2-finger push off the ambulance. And now it's over. But once again, Randy being Randy flips the script with an RKO. And he's got Drew in the ambulance, and he's going to close the door. He takes too much time. Drew stops the door. Drew gets out. He hits the Claymore. He rolls Randy into the ambulance. He's going to close the doors and finish this match. But he decides that Randy needs one swift punt kick to the head instead. This is normally where somebody would lose a match like this because they took too much time. But instead, he does land the kick to the head and finishes the match. And then Ric Flair, the last man that Orton had, well, the one, I'll rephrase that. The guy Orton had wronged that couldn't really do a physical thing with him is driving the ambulance away laughing. And two things here. Ric Flair, this isn't the first time he's driven a car with a broken windshield. Two, what did you think about it?
I kind of felt like this match just kind of had one thing. I mean, this match can be summarized in two things. Ambulance spots and Randy Orton's...
The sins of the past.
And yeah, that. It just kind of felt like... It just kind of felt like it just did that for like 5 minutes and never really changed anything. Also, if we're talking about who Randy Orton has wronged, where was Edge?
Edge just had surgery. So he's like rehabbing.
So why didn't Edge drive the car with Ric Flair in
Edge is coming.
Seat with him?
Edge is coming. They're not going to... Edge is getting paid for a certain amount of appearances. They're not wasting one of those appearances on this.
Ric Flair doesn't? Like, I get... Like,
They
if you're going
basically
for this, why don't you go all out? That's not... Like, if you're going for this, like... I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, we're doing this, and then it just did that for 15 minutes, and nothing kind of happened other than that. And it just kind of felt like one thing.
Dude, that's crazy. This is kind of neat. I'll tell you why when we get to the end of all this. This is kind of neat, though. Okay, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. It was...
It probably has no... I'm almost 100% sure that this will have no rewatchability. I will not rewatch this and think, oh, I didn't catch that.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't. Like,
right.
I feel like it now that it's kind of surprise it's gone, I'm never gonna watch it again.
Well, let's really piss you off then. So we're going to get to the main event. Let's go. Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns in a story that's been masterfully told up until tonight. And then we have a match in which early on Roman dominates for an extended period of time. He runs his mouth while he's dominating. He says, how can you be at the head of the table how can you be the chief if you can't stay on the island, after he keeps throwing Jey onto the floor. And then, he just time and again, he's, this was the ass whooping I promised you. I told you to take it, lay down, take your paycheck. Jey eventually flips the switch. He has some moments where he really has a good chance of pulling this thing off, or it feels like it. I felt like there was a moment about 17 minutes in, about the third time around, Jey got the tide going his way where we thought he had a chance, and Roman does the kick out. And then he gets another kick out later on one, and he has I've never seen this before, but he kicks out with his arm that is between Jey's legs and winds up hitting Jey in the balls. And I've never seen that kick out before. And so then what winds up happening is we get a spear, and he could have pinned him, but he doesn't. He gets another spear. He could have pinned him, but he doesn't. And then he proceeds to beat Jey up, and he proceeds to hold Jey's head to the camera and tell Jey that you need to acknowledge that I'm the chief, that I'm the leader of this family. I'm the one who pays the bills, not only in our family, but through all of WWE. Acknowledge who I am and where I am in pecking order, that this is the level nobody else is on. To which eventually the referee tries to stop it. Roman says, this is family business. Don't ever make me have to acknowledge you again. I'll hurt you and then I'll have you fired. And then he turns and continues to pummel him until Jimmy comes down and eventually begs to stop, throws in the towel as Roman is bludgeoning him more. Jey is laying there saying, don't give him the satisfaction. let him keep hitting me, whatever. And then Jimmy does throw in the towel. Jimmy does eventually crawl into the ring and hold Jay's head in his lap and tell Roman, if this is what you wanted, childhood cousin, two brothers, if this is what you wanted, then sure, you're the head of the family, whatever. Leave us alone, leave him alone. And Ray, go. What did you think?
Okay. I liked 2/3 of this match. I liked the part where it was... I liked the part up until the beatdown. Now, I think this is absolutely where we are going to differentiate on this. I did not like the beatdown for a plethora of reasons. One, okay, it made him look tough. But if you're trying to make him look tough, why did he hit Jay in the balls? How does that make him look tough? He hit him with a low blow.
It was incidental.
It was not an incident.
He was kicking out of the finish.
If he was kicking out, why did he keep his arm there for a solid minute? Like, there was no reason. If you want to make him look tough, just have him kick out and hit him with a Superman punch. Like, sure, it was clever, and I've never seen it before, but it was just kind of for the fact that I've never seen it before, and to me, it just kind of took away from his toughness. And while my second one is, it was not entertaining at all. It was just kind of like, oh, he's beating him up for a minute, and it's just, I get, that's the point. But if you cut your arm off, and that's the point, you still cut your arm off. Like, because it makes sense doesn't mean it's entertaining. Like, I didn't like this. What was your opinion on it? I didn't.
Okay, this is what I think is interesting, what I think is cool about the fact that everything is subjective, right?
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is we watched two completely different pay-per-views due to the way we took it in. And I get where you're coming from on feeling like they just drug it out. I get it. You know what I mean? But it's funny because that's why I called Justin when it was over to see what he thought, and he liked it. He said it was a little bit long, but he liked it. I looked it up online. We had, you know what?
Yeah, half of them were reacting to Roman being shirtless.
A couple of quick reviews. Daily DDT at Fanside DDT said they're going to play Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso time and again as an example of masterpiece in storytelling in wrestling. I just want to give them credit because I never get these things right. Roman Reigns has set the bar extremely high for his title reign. So excited for what's next for both him and Jay. Brian Alvarez said Roman is the greatest heel. Brian is famous for hating WWE stuff or not receiving it well. And he said Roman's the greatest heel, but that certainly was a depressing way to end the show.
It was
Alex McCarthy was obviously he's almost a WWE writer, so he was on board too. My point is, it's funny how different people watch things and take it in differently, and you can all be right at the same time, right? You didn't like it because what they were trying to do is make you hate Roman, and as Justin said on the phone, how do you make people hate a guy that had cancer? Well, you have him go out there and bludgeon his cousin to the point at which he humiliates him, to the point at which he makes him...
People didn't already dislike him? People disliked him. People were on the fan cams, they were already booing him. Like, I think this is kind of walking.
Everybody's been on board with this heel turn. Everybody's loved the heel turn. Everybody loves heel Roman. But that's not the point we're trying to make with him, right?
Well, he is very... What type of heel is he trying to be? Because granted, he did do the tough guy stuff. Why did he hit him in the balls?
Okay.
There was no reason for that. That's cowardly. That's not prideful. That defeats the entire point and purpose of the match. And proving that you're prideful, that defeats the entire purpose.
He wasn't proving that he was prideful. He was proving he was in charge.
That proves... Hitting them in the balls proves nothing.
What did he do the night he won the championship?
What did he do the night he won the championship? What?
He waited till the two guys fought themselves so they couldn't hardly stand, walked out there, hit them with chairs, covered them, and won. No, he kicked him in the balls.
Yeah, that's not tough.
He's been walking around hitting people. But, I mean, I'm just saying. And he did look tough. I mean, he looked tough in this fight. He looked great in the fight until the ball shot, according to you.
He looked tough until he just decided to be a coward. Like, that's like... You can't...
He's a bad guy.
Look at Seth.
Seth's a coward.
When a bad guy turns heel, and Jared said this before on the evil thing, they don't just become a different wrestler. I didn't feel like that was Roman that did that low blow. That felt like a completely out of character act to do. It's like the exact thing. It's like one of the things people make fun of WWE for is that some of their heels just kind of act the same, and they just kind of do the same, oh, I'm gonna hit you with the low blow, and that was very out of character, but that's just me, though. If you want to think it's a masterpiece, then that's entirely your
prerogative, like Bobby Brown said.
Yeah.
It's my prerogative.
Yeah.
I can do what I want to do. It's my prerogative. Doing it just for you. Y'all didn't know you were getting some Bobby Brown tonight. Okay, so what did you think about pay-per-view overall?
I think every match had a very big problem, distinct problem. I don't think they were all bad. I just think some of them were a bit lackluster, like Bailey,
Bailey,
the Street
Oscar.
Street Profits, the Roman thing. Like, I feel like a lot of them were lackluster, but some of them were smart and cute and clever, and I feel like it wasn't an abysmal pay-per-view. I'd probably give it like a 2.5 out of 5.
Okay, well, I enjoyed it.
Sure. Okay.
I did enjoy it. I felt like we got a good little match out of Roman, and then we got who he is as a character, and I don't know that I've seen somebody claim to be what he's claiming to be right now in the company. And I kind of I find it neat, but I think we're going to leave it at that, man. I think we're going to leave it at that because I feel like you got it out. You put it out there for him.
Yeah, I feel like we do have a lot of I'm not gonna say overtly positive. I feel like I do tend to have problems with just stating out my opinion, and I feel like this part was just complete.
Dude, you're the go home heat kid. That's your job, to lay it out there. Everybody online that's talking about this thing and saying things, it's okay when everybody watches stuff and somebody thinks something different from somebody else. But your job is to shoot it down, son.
Yes.
Shoot it down. No sell.
That's why it was a very bad idea to have me only on this show.
Well, it's great. It's great. It's awesome. Okay, for the Go Home Heat Kid Ray.
Just so you know, when you want to get somebody angry, just have me on the show.
Get somebody angry, give them a live mic, and let them go. All right, this is me, KP. This is the Go Home Heat Kid Ray. We just watched Clash
of the Champions.
Go home.
Remember when it was called Night of Champions?
Copyright 2020.